I solemnly swear that I'm up to no good, especially when it comes to uncovering the secrets of the economy. Welcome to the very first episode of Marauder's Map to Wall Street. I'm your host, Varnika. If you've ever looked at a financial news channel and felt like you were staring at a math textbook with random numbers, you're in the right place. Most people see the stock market as a chaotic mess of numbers that don't make sense. But just like the Marauder's map, if you know the right password and where to look, those numbers start to leave footprints. They show you exactly where the money is flowing, who is in charge, and where the traps are hidden. Today, we are tapping our wands on the parchment for the very first time as we explore the ultimate guide to the economy, the S&P 500. Before we talk about what is happening in the world today, we need to understand the map itself. You'll hear people on the news say things like, the S&P hit an all-time high, or the market is down today. Usually, when they say the market, they're talking about the S&P 500 or your country's national index. So, what is it? Think of the S&P 500 as the ultimate all-star team of American business. It isn't just one company, it is a list of 500 of the largest, most successful companies in the United States. We're talking about the giants you interact with every single day. When you use a phone, that's Apple. When you watch a movie, that's Disney. When you search for something online, that's Alphabet or Google. Now, why 500? Why not 5 or 5,000? In the financial world, we call this an index. It's a benchmark, basically. Because these 500 companies are so massive, they represent about 80% of the total value of the entire US stock market. But here's the secret rule of the map: market cap weighting. This sounds like a heavy piece of jargon, but it's actually very simple. It means that the bigger a company is, the more power it has over the index. Imagine a scale. On one hand, you have a giant like Nvidia. On the other side, you have a smaller company that maybe makes clothing. Because Nvidia is worth trillions, if its stock goes up 2%, it pulls the entire S&P 500 up with it. If the smaller company goes up 2%, the scale barely moves. The S&P 500 is designed to show us where the big players are headed. It's a way to see the big picture without getting distracted by every tiny shop in the village. Now that we know what the map is, let's look at what it's showing us right now. As we head into the third week of February 2026, the S&P 500 is hovering around the 7,000 mark. It's a historic level. And there is a lot of gossip brimming at Wall Street. Let's dive right in. Well, there's a major change happening in the control room of the economy. The Federal Reserve, which is the central bank of the USA, is going through a leadership transition. Kevin Warsh has been nominated to take over as the next Fed chair when Jerome Powell's term expires in May 2026. This shift is massive because the Fed chair controls interest rates. Now, why does a change in one person's job matter to your stock portfolio? Because the Fed chair is the person who decides on interest rates. Most people think low rates equal good, high rates equal bad. But it's more nuanced than that. Think of interest rates as the speed of moving staircases at Hogwarts. When rates are low, the staircases move fast. It's cheap for companies to borrow and grow. However, if they move too fast for too long, the economy overheats, which leads to inflation and your gallons or your money don't buy as much as they used to. When rates are high, the staircases slow down. Borrowing gold becomes expensive, which is a tool used to keep inflation from spiraling out of control. But don't worry about this just yet. We'll be covering this in much more depth in episode 3. For now, consider interest rates as house rules of the economy. The market doesn't like uncertainty. Right now, investors are trying to guess if the new leadership will be someone who keeps interest rates high to fight inflation or someone who lowers rates to help businesses grow. We've also just finished a huge earnings season. This is when companies hand in their quarterly report cards. We're seeing a big split. Tech companies are reporting massive profits because everyone is buying AI tools. But healthcare and consumer companies like United Healthcare are seeing people spend a little bit less. The divergence of split is creating a bit of fog on our map. Some footprints are moving forward while others are still standing still, waiting for the new rules of the game to be announced. To make this all click, let's bring it back to the Marauder's map. Imagine the S&P 500 as the parchment itself. On its own, it's just paper. But if once you tap it with the wand of market data, you see the truth. The companies are the students. Each of those 500 companies is a student walking the halls of Hogwarts. When we see the S&P 500 moving up, it's like seeing a huge crowd of students all walking together toward the Great Hall for a feast. It tells you the general mood of the school is happy. The professors are the big tech giants. Because of market weighing, some footprints are much bigger than the others. Companies like Apple, Microsoft, and Nvidia are professors. If Dumbledore or McGonagall start running toward the Forbidden Forest, everyone on the map notices immediately. It doesn't matter if 50 first-year students are sitting quietly in the library. If the professors move, the map moves. The third chair is the headmaster. The leadership shift we talked about? That's like getting a new headmaster at Hogwarts. The students are the same, the castle is the same, but the headmaster sets the house rules. If the headmaster decides to change how the moving staircases work, which are our interest rates, every student on the map has to change how they get to class. Some might find a shortcut, but others might end up lost in the dungeons. The S&P 500 is your guide. It doesn't show you every single detail of every small shop in Hogsmeade, but it shows you where the big footprints are going so you don't get caught in the dark. For the next 2 weeks, I want you to watch the professor footprints. We have more tech earnings and more news from the Fed coming. Their moves will determine if the map reveals a new path to the highs or if we're headed for a detour. The staircases move and markets change, but the data always leaves a trail. Thanks for joining me for episode 1 of Marauder's Map to Wall Street. Next time, we're going deeper into the castle. We let the sorting hat decide where these companies truly belong as we explore the 11 sectors of the S&P 500. Why are some companies defensive, like Hufflepuff, while others are aggressive, like Gryffindor? We'll also talk about diversification, the protection spell that ensures one bad trade in potions doesn't ruin your entire outscore. Until then, mischief managed.